going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we do always start this show by being transparent. And yesterday was a really good day for me. I went 5-1 overall. I'm still mad I didn't play that Blue Jays over because it seemed like it was pretty easy. But I had 2-1 in NHL after talking with my guy McKinnis later. And NBA, I believe it was 3-0. Had the Warriors, had the under, and also played the Warriors on the money line. So nice 5-1 day. That makes my NBA the last 42 days up about 134 units. So we'll try to keep that going here today. I know you had a winner with the Golden State team total over, Rob. We were able to sneak out my under and your team total over, so that was great. But how was yesterday? How you doing today?
It turned out to be only break even for me, Skee. I had the Golden State team total was right. And I played it two ways. I played it first half over 60, and that huge 41-point second quarter got it over at halftime. And then I had it over for the game, and they got to 127. So both of those were right. What was wrong was I had Golden State first quarter. I thought they would come out better. They didn't. LA actually won outright first quarter. And I had a prop with D'Angelo Russell to get over 15.5 points. I thought maybe he would be the third option last night. He really didn't score much. I think he shot well, just didn't shoot often enough. 10 points there. So winds up being a 2-2 split. We'll take it though, and move on to today.
Yeah, no harm, no foul there. Jay says, thanks, guys, for those Warriors plays. Absolutely glad we could cash some tickets. And it looks like, I think they're cheating now, Rob. He says sky blue. Bang.
You know, and I got to say something because I'm looking at it on the screen here and it shows up as sky blue. I can tell you that this is like Miami Dolphins aqua. So it's not showing up on the screen. Though it's something about I don't know what I have for a camera here, but it's kind of rigging the color. This is definitely aqua. And but we have to go with light blue because that's what's showing up on the screen here, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. And you don't even have a green screen back there to like play with it or mess with it. So
No.
Who knows what it's about? A couple more comments. Everybody just saying what's up. Boo for sad for him. He had the under 226.5.
Ooh.
Lost by the hook. That was tough right there. G Martinez says he's tired of D'Lo and Harden.
Or maybe that's his name for D'Lo.
Oh, D'Lo Harden. Okay, I get it. Zero Bob, the opposite of Boofer. He won by 1 point. He had to 228. David says Nuggets color.
No, I'm telling you, it's Miami. If you know what the Miami Dolphins aqua looks like, that's exactly what this is, but it's not coming across.
Josh maybe has the answer here. He says you need to color correct your camera with the white piece of paper. I don't even know what that means, but sounds like
no, I'm not going to try it though, Joshua. I'm sorry. If I try anything, it'll frig it up so bad that I won't be able to do a show.
Yeah, we'll just stick with what works then. Let's get into some games, find some ways to make some money for today. We do have 2 NBA games today. We have 2 today, 2 tomorrow. And then I guess we'll touch maybe a little bit of the diamond if guys have questions or things of that nature. So first game I see here, we're going to go 529, 530. We're looking at Boston, heading into Philly now to face the Sixers. This game opened Celtics minus 1.5. They're now a 2.5 point favorite. Total open 214. I think 214.5 is a consensus. As far as the injury report, Gallinari remains out for the Celtics. Embiid game time decision for the Sixers, but I'm pretty sure he's going to play. If he played in that last game, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out there again today. But I'm not sure how good it is for him to be out there, Rob. Like, what did he have last game? Maybe 15 points, I think, or something like that. 3 rebounds. I mean, he is bringing a little bit more rim protection for this team, but if he's not 100%, maybe he's holding them back a little bit. And also, you just see the Celtics, like, their game plan is to try to run him. Like, whenever they see him out there, run, and see if he can keep up. And that would be my game plan, too, on one leg. So I don't like I honestly don't like him being out there for the Sixers, but not being 100%. And I don't trust Doc Rivers as a coach. I don't trust Harden the longer the series goes on. I hear Joe Mazzulla, and he's not a great coach either, but he says the guys were pissed off and angry after losing that first game. They come out and respond and win by a big margin. Hearing Jaylen Brown talk, it doesn't seem like a group that's satisfied. So I think that was their wake up call in that game one. I think they're maybe a little bit more locked in now. And at the price where they pretty much just have to win, I would be looking more towards the Boston side than the Sixers side. I guess. What do you think about that before I even touch on the total?
Yeah, it's an interesting game, Ski, because it's the first game we'll get where you feel like everybody's as close to good health as you can get, right? Last game, I think we knew Embiid was testing out that knee brace. He even admitted afterwards he wasn't fully comfortable with it, and he admitted he wasn't aggressive offensively. He said he just tried to let the game come to him. He contributed on a defensive end where he could, and he did with 5 blocks and some really good defense. But tonight I would expect much different out of him, more aggressiveness. And I think just because I live in this Philadelphia area, and I was saying this with Jay Money and Tony Mejia a little bit ago on a different show, um, on Jay's show, that the love-hate relationship in this town with James Harden changes every 24 hours. It's crazy. But they loved him after game one because he was expected to step up and perform, scoring points-wise, and he did. And then in game two, he just kind of fades into the sunset and becomes that facilitator again. And the town is riding him hard again in this game. I would think that James Harden, his PRA number to me, 34.5 tonight, is far too low. They pay this guy $37.5 million or whatever it is to be the second best player. And somebody I saw or read yesterday said it best. Joel Embiid needs to go to James Harden and just say, listen, do what you do. Don't worry about deferring to me and feeling like you have to pass to me. They need him to score. I think he'll score tonight. A Friday night crowd in Philadelphia will be absolutely crazy. My power rating showed Philly should have been a 1-point favorite in this game. So it's really, you're getting a 1.5, I think, with them at this point in time. So you could call that value, but I don't know that value even exists in the playoffs because these games are so situational game to game. I didn't play it, Skee, because I could make way too many arguments for both sides, and I could make way too many arguments for over or under in this game. What I do think is that I think Philadelphia, after getting beat by 34 points, if ever they're going to have a big quarter, it would be the first quarter, right out of the chute, at home, in front of a pretty loud crowd. You would think they could win the first quarter. I don't know that I trust them enough full game. Our boy Scott Foster is the lead official here tonight, but there's no series extension because it's tied. So who knows which way he'll favor. Boston's team total is also, this was brought up on Jay's show by one of those guys, either Jay or Tony, that the Boston team total of 108.5. Boy, holding Boston under 108.5 seems like it's almost impossible nowadays. Malcolm Brogdon has become such an offensive force to add to the weaponry that they already have. So maybe if for folks out there who like Boston team total might be a way to go. But I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think Harden PRA gets up and over, and maybe I'll be the only pro Harden voice during this show. But I think he will fill the stat sheet tonight and help Joel out. And I also think that Philly first quarter. If you like the Sixers, I think you want to get in there early and maybe take your foot back out, take your money and get out. The home team did not cover first quarter last night. Golden State got beat by LA in the first quarter, but I think that the home team wins the first quarter here tonight.
I can understand that thought process. I mean, after you get whooped on like that, you have to come out and respond, or you should be looking to come out and respond, and that should start early. So I do understand that thought process. Scott Foster, Jay says Scott likes home dogs. I believe he goes for the home teams in general. Here comes UCapper with the Scott Foster stats. Says Scott Foster for the Celtics. He's 21-12 against the spread since 2018, 8-3 in the playoffs. For the Sixers, 14, 16, and 1 against the spread since 2018, 5 and 3 in the playoffs. So appreciate that. Looks like he favors the Celtics a little bit more. David says Philly likes slower tempo. Unfortunately, Boston can score and will force their tempo to increase. I agree with I agree with those statements. Munaf likes Embiid over 1.5 blocks, minus 135 on FanDuel. Says he has at least 2 blocks in 6 straight games dating back to the regular season. And he had 2+ blocks in that last game as well. So that could be a good look. Rob, you said well, before I guess I move on to that, somebody mentioned road favorites in game 3. So I'm just pulling stuff up here. Let me see if I can share the screen. Should be this one right here. All right. So you see this now, right, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
So active on the Celtics versus 76ers today. This says game 3, playoff road favorites after winning game 2 and losing game 1. They are 21-9 straight up, 19, 10, and 1 against the spread. So 65.5% against the spread. The average line was minus 3.6. Says these teams, it's a pretty tight game. They won by 3.4. So maybe if you like the Celtics, just go ahead and play the money line. But that's the way that I'm leaning here, the way that I'm thinking as far as the side is concerned. Any thoughts on this chart? Would that make you lean a little bit more towards the Celtics on the full game?
Yeah, it would be an argument for sure. And I think that friend of the show, good handicapper himself, Crispy Cappin, had some numbers to that extent, Skee, the same parameters, and they favored Boston. I think whatever way he had it sized up, I think it came to 23-8 in favor of Boston. So certainly you can use that as an argument for that side. To me, there's more variables than just that one in there, but it's certainly, again, it's stuff like this, Skee, that kept me off the side entirely here. Because every time I make an argument for Philly, you can come back with something like this that's really strong in favor of Boston. The Scott Foster trends that Ronald just showed. And I think if you have a chance, Ronald, if you can give us Scott Foster for home teams in specific this year, because I think Skee was right. I think his trend towards the home team is extremely strong, regular season and playoffs. But I just have so many conflicting arguments for both sides that I laid offside. I'd probably choose to just take my chances and shorten it up and say Philly, put my hopes that Philly has enough, between the ears to come out and be PO'd that they got whacked by 34 last game and play a strong first quarter. I know it's going to be crazy in there tonight. So in front of the home fans, maybe they perform for a quarter, and from there, who knows? Like I said, I could make arguments for both sides.
Fair enough. Before we move on to the total, let me ask you, who is winning this series? Who do you have if you have to pick right now?
Oh, I think Boston's the better team, Skee. I always have. I think the question is, do they win in 6 or do they win in 7? I would probably lean 6 because I think Boston can get a split here in Philadelphia, then go back home and win and probably close out in Philadelphia. So I would probably lean 6, but I think they're winning the series.
Okay. And Munaf did give those home stats for Foster: 42 and 24 against the spread for the home teams, 47 and 19 as far as just win and losses. So he does favor those home teams. Let's move over to the total. And you said you can make a case for both sides here. I was leaning a little bit more towards the under just because, when I hear the Celtics, or when I was watching the Celtics, they had really good on-ball pressure. I heard them mentioning that, defense is really a focus for them. And when I was listening to the Philly side, they're saying how that on-ball pressure kind of, how do I say, it was disrupting them a little bit there. So a combination of that, and when Embiid is on the floor, Philly is not going to want to pick up the pace. They're not going to want to run their own big man into the ground. I think they'll want to play slower. But it makes me nervous because I know Boston does want to run for that same reason. So I was leaning a little bit more towards the under. I did cash the under in the previous game. What do you think? You leaning more towards under or over?
Well, I'll say this. After the first quarter of game one, remember the game where Boston shot 17 of 20, like 85%? It was 38-31 at the end of one. And Tyrese Maxey was the sideline interview between quarters. And Tyrese Maxey said, you know what? We had 10 days. We know Boston wants to run, 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 run. We talked about it for 10 days straight. Boston made shots in that first quarter. So I think Philly knows what Boston's going to do. And I think that Philly, to an extent, feels like they have to do a little bit of that themselves because they can't stop Boston totally. Joe Mazzulla, let's face it, Skee, if we go all the way back to game one, he basically told us first game of the season, here's what we're going to do now. Now that I'm the head coach, we're a running team. We're an up-tempo team, high-octane team, and they've been that this year. So Philadelphia's going to have to contend with that. What I would say is, you know me well enough to know that I play a lot of bounce back stuff. And when I looked at Philadelphia's numbers in that game where they were kind of reintegrating Joel into the offense, 39% from the floor, Philadelphia's, even though they're slow tempo, they're so more offensively efficient than 39%. I think that number comes up. They're 6 of 30 from three, only 20%. At home, that number's got to come up. And then, as we always say, role players in the playoffs play better at home. And I think Philly's bench probably responds a little bit better. They didn't get much production at all out of the bench. You could say that maybe Philadelphia was satisfied with getting the split in game one by winning game one and maybe didn't show up for game two. But these game two home favorites that have lost, or home teams in general, game two home teams that have lost game one, are now 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread. So I think Boston's retaliation was expected. I think Philly shoots better tonight. And like I said earlier, I find it hard to believe that anybody can keep Boston under 108.5 anymore. They would have to do that on their own. They would have to miss a lot of shots. They're just so explosive. So I thought the total was put in a good place. I didn't have the guts to play it over. I certainly don't have the guts to play it under. Anybody who's ever watched me on these shows know I don't have the guts to play a lot of unders. But we'll see. If I had to lean, if you're asking me gun to my head, I'd probably say over 214 because Philly bounces back with a better offensive effort.
Fair enough. It is scary for me to think about taking that under in this one. So not sure if I'll get to the window there. Gotta think about it a little bit more. John says, Skee, you saying Chris Paul getting hurt a few weeks ago was so spot on. I mean, I don't want to wish injuries on anybody. I'm just, a lot of these guys have history, and I see it too often to overlook it. I think I said the same thing about Joel Embiid, and here he is banged up and injured. So just call it how I see it, but I appreciate you giving me props for that. Jay says, looks like Philly partied after Joel got the MVP. Interesting. Let's move over. I think we did enough on that game. We'll go to the next game, 531, 532. That's Denver Nuggets heading into Phoenix to face the Suns. The Suns opened as a 5-point favorite. I did see it go down to, I think, 3.5, but now we see fours pretty much everywhere. Total open 225.5. We're looking at 224.5 as a consensus number here. And just like that last comment mentioned there, Chris Paul will be out for this game, and it looks like everybody else will be available. So this is one of those spots, right, where, everybody knows now, home team down 0-2, they have to come and respond. What are you waiting for? The series is over if you're down 0-3, right? So they jack up these first half numbers. I see the first half opened at 3. The full game opened at 5. The first half opened at 3.5, and we still see 3.5 out there right now. First quarter opened at 2. Still see 2s out there. So they're shading this game. They're shading this game for that reason. Now, it sucks because I do want to think that, Phoenix is a team that can come out and with their back against the wall will respond. But they just don't have a whole lot of depth for me to expect them to do it over 48 minutes. Like, I really would prefer to bet a Phoenix first quarter, just thinking that first unit can hang around a little bit and, throw the first punch. But think about it a little bit more. They did have 3 days off before this game, so they're as rested as they'll be. This Denver team doesn't even have a winning record on the road so far this season. You got to take that into account as well. I could only look towards Phoenix side, and I was waiting honestly last night because I really wanted to just make sure Scott Foster wasn't reffing this game. Because if Scott Foster was out there, there's no way I was touching Phoenix. but but I want to get there with Phoenix and the total. I really think I'll just mush them here together. The total, I really think I want to get there with the over because if you take away Chris Paul, they have to play faster, right? Campaign is going to push the pace, and I feel like I've heard Monty after the first game, I believe, talk about playing with pace, or maybe it was before the first game, talk about playing with pace. And I've definitely heard Mike Malone multiple occasions talk about how they're a really good running team, and no matter who they play, they want to play with pace as well. So the last game, I feel like they were playing up tempo, they just weren't making any shots. So I think this time around, more of those shots will go in the basket. I probably prefer the first half over. It is shaded there. I see 115, but I want some way, shape, or form. I lean towards overs, and I would only be betting the Phoenix side. Are you in agreement with me on this game, Vino?
Well, I'm in total agreement with you on the total, Ski, and you listed off some of the things that I would have said myself. We know Chris Paul is a shot clock milker. Walk it up the floor, pass it around, study the defense. 19 seconds in, we'll get our shot off. Campaign's not that guy. And I'm of the opinion here, Ski. I don't know that my opinion was all that well received on the previous show, but maybe you'll receive it better. That this just appears to me after 2 games. And I know you can't make blanket statements off of 2 games where the home team won them both. Because then you have to go on the road. And like you say, Denver hasn't been all that on the road this year. But when I watch this series, to me, it looks like a group of men got off the bus on one side and a group of skinny kids got off the bus on the other side. Obviously, Aaron Gordon has caused problems for Kevin Durant through a couple of games. Now, Kevin Durant, he's not going to be hung up forever. He probably goes off a little bit here tonight because he has to. But my point being that they have no answer for Jokic, right? Jokic has 68 points and 36 boards or something like that in the first 2 games. And even when DeAndre Ayton seems to be in perfect position, it doesn't matter. He just goes through, around, over. Somehow he's beating that guy and scoring points. So that matchup in particular, the Jokic, kind of reminded me of what Golden State had to do with Anthony Davis, right? Golden State didn't have a matchup for Anthony Davis, so we have to make an adjustment to try and slow him. It led me to a prop tonight on the Denver side, which is Jamal Murray over 22.5 points. If they are so concerned or overly concerned with Jokic destroying them tonight and they adjust that way, then Jamal Murray, a guy who went 0 for 9 from 3 and 3 of 15 from the floor in game 2, probably bounces back and has a big night, more than a 22.5 point night. And I don't know that campaign can defend Jamal Murray. Listen to Nikola Jokic talk in a post-game Ski. He said that Jamal Murray right now is their best player and that they're just following his lead. Now, Jokic happens to have a physical mismatch in this series. Biyombo might even be a better defender on him than Ayton is, to tell you the truth. But I think Murray is a good prop play for his points. I think over is a really good play here because I think the pace will be there. And you just don't expect Phoenix at home to shoot as bad as they have. They've put up 54 threes in 2 games and missed 41 of them. Kevin Durant and these guys, Booker, they're better shooters than that. So I think they'll shoot, they'll score. I don't think there's a matchup on the floor that Denver doesn't like offensively. And Michael Malone saying that they don't mind running even adds fuel to playing over 224 in this instance. I said earlier, I don't think that teams can hold Boston under 108.5. I specifically don't think Phoenix can hold Denver under 110 unless Denver does something themselves. Denver only scored 97 last game, but they only took 76 shots. In game 1, when they scored 125, Denver took 101 shots. So they'll play either style. They'll win either way. I wouldn't play them tonight just because Phoenix is that cornered team. But I think you're going to see a lot of points here, Skee. When they got Durant, when they acquired him, the first thought that went off in my head is that from now on, Phoenix is an over basketball team. Less defense, traded that defense away with Bridges and company, and way more offense. So I'm going to play it that way tonight. I like over 224. I like Jamal Murray. Somebody mentioned Campaign. I'm all in on that. I played it already. Campaign's assist number was 5.5, and his point total was 10.5. Points plus assists were 16.5. It all equals out to be the same. But I think Campaign's shot opportunities are going to be there, whether they be in transition or whether they be from three-point land. And his assists, Chris Paul's assists have to go somewhere. And if Durant is on tonight and makes shots, somebody's feeding him the basketball, probably be Campaign. So I think that's another good prop bet as well.
Yeah, good luck by you. And also Munaf here in the chat, Campaign over his assist. Munaf also mentioning over 1.5 threes at plus 150. Josh agreeing with that look, saying let's ladder it up a little bit more. It says Campaign 10 plus assists is plus 1225 on Bet365. So I can't talk you off of trying to go get that plus money. I think if it's not Cameron Payne, it's probably Devin Booker picking up the slack, trying to do a little bit of extra playmaking there. So maybe one of those two guys on his assist prop. Really quick before I forget this one. He's asking, do I foresee AD missing a postseason game due to his history? Well, history with AD says during the regular season, yeah, he misses a good amount of games. During the postseason, not so much. He's thugging it out. He's injured right now. If it was the regular season, he might be sitting on the bench, but he's going to play through it in the playoffs from what I've seen when they had their championship run. So I'm going to believe it until I see otherwise. I wanted to ask you here, Rob. So we're both liking a little bit of the over.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason to play it early? I mean, with the numbers shaded like that, the first quarter 57.5, the first half 115. Like Chris Paul is usually the guy who's milking the clock at the end of the game. Do you think we still get that? You think it still slows down at the end? Or do you think we'll be okay for 48 minutes?
Well, I mean, and again, it's only my opinion. I don't sit inside Monty Williams' practices or his huddles. But when I watch this series unfold, it seems to me, Skee, that these two series kind of mirror each other. To me, Golden State has to push pace to beat the Lakers. And to me, Phoenix is in that same boat. They have to push pace and have open floor game in order to beat Denver. I don't think Golden State beats the Lakers in a half-court game, and I really give less of a chance to Phoenix to win a series in the half-court against Denver. So from a philosophical tempo standpoint, I think Phoenix has to run. The problem with me playing them early, first quarter, first half, is they've been miserable in that role all season long. As far as first quarter over and first half over are concerned, they don't score early. For whatever reason, they don't score early. Now, the first game, I'm looking right here, 68-51, 119. It did get over. Denver had 68. The other side went dry in the second quarter. Much to your point about you have more faith in the first quarter starting unit than you do when the rotation subs come in and play some of that second quarter. Phoenix only put up 19 and 21 points in the second quarters of these two games. So I don't have a lot of faith in first quarter, first half, but I have a ton of faith in full game here to get up and over. Durant and Booker are going to play the heaviest minutes, and they have to, right? Down 0-2. If you got to go 42 minutes, go 42 minutes. And again, I think that Campaign pushing the ball up and down the floor helps as well. But those regular season records for Phoenix first quarter, first half over, them being so bad at doing that kind of kept me off. Otherwise, I might have been there.
Well, good points by you. And Munaf again saying how much, the Suns are a better second half or third quarter scoring team. He put some numbers here in the chat. Let's see if I can get it back here. It says the Suns are a third quarter team this postseason. They're averaging 36.7 points in the third and scored at least 30 in each game in the third quarter. Average win margin in the third quarter is 7.6. So everything that you said combined with that makes me believe I need to be including, the second half in my over wager for this game. So I like that. DJ, I appreciate you trying to help get the likes up. David, we appreciate the kind words. He says, "You guys are great NBA cappers. Keep up the great work." He smashed the like button. I appreciate that 1000%. Sports Take says he would go Booker over his assist prop. Think he's making up for some of that playmaking without Chris Paul. John, we will get to this Knicks and Heat just a little bit after this. Um, let's see. For more stats here, says Suns third quarter offensive rating in the playoffs 143.9. It's number one. And the Nuggets defensive rating in the third quarter in the playoffs is 128, second worst. So if the Suns are down, maybe look for them to come out strong in that third quarter is what, we're getting at here. And that's another thing, maybe you don't play the Suns in a smack city type spot, first quarter, first half. You just play the full game. Expect them over the course of the game here because I was trying to decide that earlier. I want to bring this up. The situation that the Suns are in. Let's just pull it up here on the screen. I think I should have it here now. So you got this here now, right, Rob?
I got it. Yep.
Active on Suns versus the Nuggets. This is, the situation we always say. Game 3, home favorites after losing the first 2 games. They are 58-25 straight up, 69.9%, winning by an average of 7.36 points per game. They're 50-31-2 against the spread, which is 61.7%. The average line is about where it is right here, minus 3.9, and we're looking at -4 for Phoenix here today. So the only way I can bet it is the Sun side, and after talking it out, I would want them for the entirety of the game versus early. And I'm in agreement with you, with Munaf, that we want to include the third quarter and the second half for points for that over. So any comments on this chart here, Rob, and last thoughts on this game?
What I'm seeing there is over under average total 199.9. There's some old games in that number of 82 games, 40, 42, and 199.9. Wow.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to 1995.
Yeah, I mean, if I see that number now put up there, I'd be bringing this house to the sports market that I'm sitting, or to the sports book that I'm sitting in right now, and unload. Yeah, I think, Skee, that if we play full game over and we surprisingly get, and I don't even know if it's surprising because I think Phoenix has to shoot better and they probably come out with a vengeance. But if we get early points, this game's going way over because of what the second half should bring here. And to John Pappas, yeah, when I open up the the screen in the morning, the first thing I do is look at totals and I scratch off all the ones that I think can't go over. And then I look at the ones that I think can go over and I decide from there. So I do eliminate games right off the bat. But certainly if I'm playing unders, you want to be with me because I don't play them that often. So we'll see. Like I say, Skee, if we get early points, this should be a nice, easy ride to over 224. I tried Phoenix over their team total in the first 2 games, and it didn't get there in either. I think they were 110.5 and 111. Didn't get there in either. But, oh, boy, there we go. Smash them peaches. But if we get them early, we should be able to coast through 224 here, full game.
All right, I like it. Mitch saying, Josh, what did you do? Cameron Payne, 10 assists is plus 725 now. And Josh says, you put the child support on it. Well played. So
you got to love these guys.
To the window. Yeah, they run into the window with Cameron Payne assist prop tonight. G. Martinez, after hearing a little bit, says Suns it is. Mitch says Blake Griffin just got rolled out. Okay, that's fine. AOD says, hell no, I'm not taking the Suns. Rand says, Suns can't shoot, terrible over spot. I mean, they got a lot of people who could put the ball in the basket. I'm not sure what you mean there. Mike is asking, what about specifically the team total for Phoenix?
And I agree. I prefer the Denver team total over 110. But if I think the game is going to get over, then Phoenix has to get over as well if they're going to win this game. So I could not argue anybody off of Phoenix team total. Like I said, I tried it twice on the road. They didn't show up. Skee, let me go back because those previous two comments from the chat, I wanted to say something about, and to you specifically. Listen, I saw the ball end up in the hands of Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie too many times when I'm playing the Suns team total over. And right away, when I see these things banging off the iron, I'm thinking of you. I'm like, son, these guys can't shoot. If it's not Durant and it's not Booker and it's not Payne, and I don't know where, well, TJ Warren doesn't even play, but the kid from Orlando, I'm missing his name now,
Ross.
Terrence Ross, right. I'm looking for these guys that can actually shoot, and they may have to play here tonight in this game with Paul out. So maybe we get more shooters on the floor. But I'm tired of watching Okogie and Craig end up with wide open threes and clanging them off the iron. I mean, that's just not it. And I wanted to comment real fast here on the series only because I'm coming from the standpoint of I really think Denver's going to win this series. I think Phoenix is not long for the world. So I was looking at numbers this morning, and if you want to play this series to end in less than 6 games, play under 5.5 games, that price was plus 103. But in order for it to land in less than 6 games, it would have to be 4-1. And the only team that can win 4-1 is Denver. So I looked at exact series score, Denver 4-1. That's plus $2. That's way better than plus 103. So I took a shot on Denver winning this thing in 5. Phoenix get one at home. Denver get the split and then go home and finish them off. I don't know that Phoenix can make much of a series here. They're certainly talked about, amongst the national media as still being a chief contender for the Western Conference title. But this matchup, I just don't like it for them. So for those watching, that's just something I played. I don't know if you feel the same way, but somebody said something about I'm not betting Phoenix. Hell no. And it reminded me that I did play Denver's series this morning to win it 4-1.
Well, I have Denver to win the series. I think it was plus 115. And I'm just happy with that price. But I do see, the Suns getting one more. I'm not sure that they can get 2, although Denver is not a great road team. So we shall see. Bigfoots in the chat says he'd like to know how well home playoff teams do after being down 0-2. We just talked about it. I just put the chart on the screen.
You just posted.
All you got to do is just rewind a little bit, and you should see the results right there on the screen. Justin, he says Suns over and KD props are what he's looking at along with the Suns first half. So after talking that out, a lot of things to like. I think I'm going to stick with the Suns full game over. Those seems like the best directions for me. 2 games on Saturday, Rob, and we don't have to go too much into detail with them, but we can talk a little bit about them. Honestly, right now, I prefer to talk more about basketball than baseball anyway with the playoffs. You good with that?
I'm very good with that.
All right. Next game, next series, 533, 534, New York and Miami. Opened up Miami -3, now -4, pretty much across the board. Total opened up 208. We're seeing 209, I believe, as a consensus number there. This is the series that I have the least opinions or I'm least confident in. But what I have to say about this one is I just really don't trust this Knicks team. I like shooters. We talked about that, and they don't have a whole lot of them. Eric Spoelstra, he has enough experience. He's a great coach. He'll play some zone. He'll make those guys beat them from the perimeter. And they barely were able to beat them in that last game without Jimmy Butler. So, Jimmy Butler should be available tomorrow. Miami back at the house. I could only look towards the Heat in this next game, and I do think the Heat win the series. Don't really have a strong opinion on the total. What do you think about Miami and New York?
Well, until proven otherwise, Ski, I think I like Miami team totals. They just keep scoring. And here we've seen it get bumped a little bit. They were 105.5 opener, and now we're staring at 106.5, which means Miami has to get to 107. But we just saw them get to 105, like you mentioned, without Jimmy Butler. They're just finding ways to score. And it is kind of amazing because Tyler Hero hasn't been part of this, right? Victor Oladipo hasn't been able to give them an extra 12, 13, 14 minutes, whatever. But they're just finding ways to score. And I know that Tom Thibodeau has a great reputation as a defensive coach. And I heard last night that the Knicks actually in this postseason are the number one rated defensive team. The Lakers are number two. But I don't know that I've seen that out of the Knicks against Miami so far in this series. And it always, we
No,
always
that's all
come
versus
back to,
Cavaliers.
yeah, exactly. Right. And we saw how poor the Cavaliers were. I mean, to me, I'm not sure of the Knicks defense. I'm totally unsure about the Miami defense because Eric Spoelstra changed philosophies 25 games left in the season to try and become more offensively efficient. So I'm looking at that game from some form of over, whether it be Miami team total over, whether it be full game over. I think that gets there. I think these teams live off of a perception, right? More than reality. I think they're perceived to be defensive teams. I don't know that they are. Jalen Brunson, for all his attributes, he's not a great defender. He's just not a great defender. Complete hustle and determination, but not a great defender. Much better score. I'll look at it from that angle. I haven't decided which one I'm going to play yet. Maybe both, but I think Heat team total needs to be played, and I think for the game total might need to be played over as well.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this a couple of times throughout the year. Like, what do we say? Like, Spoelstra realized this team is not that good defensively as past years. Got to take a little bit of a different approach, and that goes to what you're talking about with Miami getting up and over the team total. So, could be the way to approach that game. Um, Next game and last game up in the NBA for this weekend, because we the teams that are going to play on Sunday we haven't even seen play today yet. Warriors and Lakers. I see this one open up. Lakers -2. We see -3 pretty much across the board. Total opened up 228.5, down to about 227. Haven't had a whole lot of time to like. I really would want to watch a little bit of that game again and just kind of see some things there. I know Golden State did what I expected them to do, not play Looney and Draymond together as much, and help out with the spacing because Lakers weren't even guarding those guys when they were on the court together, and it was making it a lot harder for everybody else. That's why they were living by the three so much in that first game. But that Draymond, I know he played AD more aggressively, and the refs really let them get away with a little bit more. There were a lot of foul calls that were not called for the Lakers. So I don't know. I need to watch again to see the exact adjustments that I think that the Lakers will make. But I do know they could play a lot better. I do think AD is going to come out, a lot more aggressive um, and better in this next game. So I really would just think to play on him, his props, whether it's PRA or points and rebounds, something like that. And I do think the Lakers are going to get the job done at the house. Initially, it's just because the Warriors are not as good on the road, just as good as the Warriors have been at responding. I feel like the Lakers are good at responding too. And just listening to their interviews, um, it felt like they were a little bit irritated and, that loss bothered them, or the questions that the reporters were asking them were really bothering those guys. So I do think you get a good effort from the Lakers. I don't have enough yet to go ahead and back them, but I am going to continue to try to find those reasons. And I also agree with the total going down. Um, they were asking LeBron especially, but they're asking these guys about the defense and you know what happened. They're like pretty much like you guys are a really good defensive team post All Star. You're a really good defensive team versus the Grizzlies. Are you guys gonna struggle because this is an historic offense? And LeBron didn't like that question. He's like, no, we're still number one defense. We still take pride on that end of the floor, and we're going to be playing defense in the next game. So just getting the more focused ever from them on that side of the ball, along with we know Golden State is capable of playing defense like they did in this past game. I would be going under, and I would be looking towards the Lakers. What are your initial thoughts with Golden State versus Lakers Game 3?
Well, my first thought is I'd like to be on the Lakers. Again, I think that these teams that get embarrassed and then get to come back home, that's a good position to be in. It's the position Philadelphia is in tonight. It's the position the Lakers will be in next game. So I like the Lakers. I don't know. Golden State's going to play it this way. And LA at home, rather than on the road, should be able to, you're never going to be able to totally control pace against Golden State. You're really not. But they can do it in segments in this game and maybe for more out of the 48 minutes than they could last night. To LeBron, I mean, dude, you're 10 of 57 from three-point land in the playoffs. Make a three, for goodness sakes. My God, that's like 16% from three-point land. I do think Anthony Davis will play better. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. And I do think D'Angelo Russell will be more aggressive and play better. I think we haven't seen the best of Austin Reeves yet, Skee. I don't know how you feel about him, but he hasn't really been the Austin Reeves that we saw previous round and towards the end of the regular season. I think there's so much improvement that could be made by the Lakers. And I guess you have to ask yourself, is that adjustment that Steve Kerr made last night, starting JaMychal Green, is that really going to be a difference maker for more than one game? I'm not sure that it is. They seem to think it is. It's a guy with good size and a guy that can make some threes. But you got to take that act on the road. You're a reserve player basically going on the road now in a starting role. I don't expect him to contribute much. So there's a lot of reasons here that I think 3.5 might be a cheap price. Now, you tell me, which one of these lead officials hates the Lakers the most? Tony Brothers? Scott Foster? Is there anybody? These guys just keep rotating. Now they're down to like 4 lead officials. And as long as none of them have anything against the Lakers, I think Zach Zarba is always neutral. But John Goebel, Scott Foster, Tony Brothers, Mark Davis, any one of those names that you would kind of fear for the Lakers if they were the lead official in this game?
I think it's
Sunday?
Goebel. I'm not certain, but I know Tony Brothers is good for us. I don't think
Okay.
Scott Foster has anything against us either, but I want to say Goebel. I know Goebel has been good for Phoenix, but I just think he's been a guy that we lose when he referees.
Okay, well, we'll hope for no Goebel and it's a full go. I do like the Lakers, and I saw a question up there when you were showing comments from the chat. Is this series going 7? I thought it was going 7 from the get-go. It was plus 190 at that point in time. I took a shot at it. It's 2 really good teams battling, and I know you and I had this conversation yesterday. Who do we feel is going to come out on top? And I still think that the Lakers are probably the team that's going to come out in this, as long as they don't, these gaps of days between playoff games benefit Los Angeles quite a bit because they can get full rest. And that's kind of the thing you would worry about, is maybe they fatigue. But I think game 3, they're the right side as of now.
All right, we kind of agree there. Want to touch a couple comments really quick. Bill McDonald says Steph only had 20 last game. He may have a great performance tomorrow. He played good in that last game. I mean, he was taking whatever the defense was giving him. They were trapping him, making him give up the ball, and he made the right passes. That's why he had a lot of assists. I think Steph had a good game last game. Boofer says more threes from LeBron. Falling back, shot clock expiring, 3-pointers aren't good enough for Veno. He actually started off the game hitting some of those 3-pointers, but he has been terrible these playoffs. I'm tired of
No,
seeing the
Boofer, it's
setup.
not good enough for me. It's not good enough for me. Falling back, shot clock expiring threes. They're not good enough for me.
He made one though. He made one. A little lucky banker. Jermichael Green stretches the floor, pulls Davis out the paint. Curry in the
Right,
pick and roll works too. I agree. I think Jermichael
right.
Green is something that's going to be long term just because of that. Like we saw, anytime you have Looney and Draymond on the floor, they're not going to respect those guys. They're just going to go ahead and focus on the other three who can score. So I think just having somebody out there that you have to pay attention to is going to be helpful for them long term. Um, Bigfoot says I play LeBron under 2.5 3-pointers, and of course he slaps three before the halftime and doesn't hit one again all game. Yeah, he went under his point prop. I think he had 21 points the first half and 2 in the second. So that's tough. G Martinez says, this ref capping is a real thing. I never thought we would get here. Hey man, we've been doing this for
Ask
years and
Tim.
we see it.
Yeah, ask Tim Donahue. It's real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He said they assign referees to games depending on the outcomes that they want. I'm never going to forget that. All right, I think that's enough for the comment section. We had a pretty long show as far as NBA is concerned, so we don't really, have to do too much more. MLB, like I said, I'm not really too heavy into it right now. I will be as soon as we get to not having playoff games every single day. But I do just want to mention when I looked at it, there were a couple things I've talked that just kind of stood out to me. Number one was, well, I know Prop Queen likes Senga for the Mets on his strikeout prop. I think it was over 5.5. So I would always endorse whatever Prop Queen likes. I would trust her with my wallet. Darvish and Kershaw. I'm a believer in Darvish at home. Darvish first five at home has been a thing going back to last season. But there's a few guys on this Dodgers team who hit him quite well versus, Kershaw. He's had better success versus this San Diego lineup. So that makes me a little bit nervous there. Maybe I would I may be a little bit too nervous to play that game the way I want to play it. I'm interested to hear if you have any kind of opinion on Corbin Burns. I know he's a guy that we backed in the past. He's going up against Sean Manaea, but I didn't really look into the game enough to cap it for everybody. And other than that, just looking down the list, Chris Sale versus Wheeler. I'm not a fan. I'm not a believer in Chris Sale anymore. I think that ship has sailed. I've been kind of fading this guy for the past few years since he's been having these shoulder surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. And Boston, I know they're on a win streak right now, but don't have a winning record on the road, if I'm not mistaken. And Zach Wheeler, he's a guy that I would want to trust at home. So I lean towards the Phillies here. You might have to take them on a run line price to get a good number. And I do know Prop Queen likes Chris Sale strikeouts over, and she likes Wheeler strikeouts under. So maybe she disagrees with me a little bit there as far as everything else. But I would only play the Philly side in that game. And that's all I have. So anything that I said that maybe you were thinking about that stood out to you, Rob, or screw baseball. Let's stick to the playoffs.
Well, I always like to look at Zach Wheeler, especially at home. So the Boston Bats are red hot, and that's a bandbox in Philadelphia, so that would scare me a little bit. But Philly's bats have been pretty hot as well. They're off a series sweep. It's a cross-country trip back home from LA, so I don't know that I like that all that much. So there's enough to keep me off, even though I like Sale. There was one other the Senga prop that you mentioned, Ariel liked. I could agree with that. Senga, wow. I mean, they hang that little picture of a ghost every time he strikes somebody out because it's supposedly a ghost pitch. But I've seen enough of him this year to believe in him and his ability to strike guys out. So I could see that. I'm not a big prop player in baseball. I just don't study those props every morning enough. You have to get way too deep into things here to be able to do side total and all those props. But I could see Senga going over his strikeout total against the Rockies. We know the Rockies' offense on the road is always pathetic. So I could go with that.
All right, good stuff there. And I'll take another look at that and see if I can just go ahead and put it in today. I probably will just blind trust her on that single prop, especially if Rob is backing it up a little bit here. So I like that. There's one NHL game, but we'll leave that alone. I'm sure McKinnis or Carmine or somebody out there helped you guys out with NHL for today. So now, it's about that time, Rob. We talked about a good amount of games. We've been on here for about an hour. Is there anything that you would like to promote and maybe a play that you like more than the rest?
Well, let's go this route. Let's promote first with wagertalk.com. Wagertalk.com, as I say over and over again each and every day, Skee, but it really is kind of a one-stop shopping spot for information, analysis, and selection packages. You can get it all right there. If you go over to wagertalk.com right this second and just drop your email address, you will have instant access free to all the video content, all the written content, all the game analysis provided by Wager Talk handicappers. And it's as good a roster as you're going to get out there. So, friends with a lot of these guys, if not all of them, and can vouch for every single one of them. So you want to go to wagertalk.com. If you're handicapping on your own and just want some extra information, maybe you watch Skee's shows just because you want to hear what he's saying each and every day. If you like it, go over to wagertalk.com. You'll get much more of the same, including the two of us sometimes together do an NBA selection packages up and available. I do want to say this. We talked about not wanting to cover much baseball here. We're both not quite into it yet, but if you guys are watching and you're into USFL and XFL, I have been into that and actually sit number one at Wager Talk right now in XFL handicapping for the season. I think we've hit 60% in USFL off to a 3-1 start. I've got a couple of best bets up there right now, wagertalk.com. For the show, Skee, I'll leave two. I'll leave two here. I think the James Harden props, rebounds, assists over 34.5 is worth a shot tonight. I played it myself. Would never say anything to your audience that I didn't play. So that one I played. And as far as the Denver-Phoenix game, you and I sort of agree on this. So let's hope we both cash. But I think over 224. 224 is a little too light for me in this game. I really expect Phoenix at home to score. And I don't think much of them defensively at all. So if Denver's going to run a little bit with them, the pace quickens with campaign. I think over 224. So those will be the two I'll leave you. James Harden, PRA over 34.5. Phoenix, Denver, full game over 224.
All right, I like it. I do like that over, but I want to give people something different. And again, I haven't placed a bet just yet, but I'm gonna place it. I've talked it out, and I'm certain that I'm gonna place it. So we'll go Phoenix -4. We want the entirety of the game. We talked about how good they are in that third quarter. We know that we expect them to come out and bring the first punch, but from what they've shown us thus far, we might need a big second half. And Denver don't even have a winning record on the road so far this year, as good as they've been. So best bet, back against the wall, we'll go Phoenix -4. Rob, always appreciate you taking the time to come talk to me, come talk to us and share all the information that you have. You're very knowledgeable in all these sports, and I really enjoy doing the show with you. So just always want to say I appreciate you. And to the chat, you guys are also the best. You guys keep us entertained. We've been laughing. I'm laughing while Rob's talking. I'm trying not to laugh while I'm talking. I put up the comments while he's talking. He's trying not to laugh. And then you guys still have a lot of good looks and information as well. So we appreciate you guys. If you guys like the show, hit the like button. It does help us out quite a bit. Subscribe so you guys know whenever we're live here on the channel. Best of luck on all your action, and we'll catch you guys again later.